Okay, so welcome to today's session. So this is class 13 of MAC 4861, or not MAC, FAC 4861, FAC 4863. Today's session, we're gonna work through employee benefits. So employee benefits is not that challenging, but it does count quite a bit of marks in this exam. It can range between 10 to 15 marks. So 10 to 15 marks is quite a bit out of 40. Obviously, the section that takes most of the marks is going to be leases. And then the other 5 to 10 marks will most likely be or will be provisions and events after the reporting date. So as you can gauge, leases will probably count about 50% of the paper, a good 20 marks. Then 10 to 15 marks would be employee benefits, and then about 5 to 10 marks would be provisions and events after the reporting date. It does not mean they can't switch anything around, but that is generally how it will play out. So what I can tell you is that basically all three topics, or all four topics is important, but obviously leases will account for most of the marks. But that leases is next week. So today we're going to do employee benefits. So basically, when it comes to employee benefits, that is, I think it's IAS 19. Yeah, so it's IAS 19, employee benefits. So if you read that standard, it's quite a lengthy standard to read. It's not an easy standard to read. Actually, not that difficult, but the standard is quite long. And the long part is basically the portion that I don't think is any longer tested within the syllabus. So in employee benefits, remember, an employee benefit, basically any cost relating to an employee. Now, if you read IAS 19, it breaks it up into 4 sections. So you will have short-term employee benefits, you will have termination benefits, you will have post-employment benefits, and then you will have other long-term benefits. So those are the 4 categories. So short-term benefits, termination benefits, what did I say? Post-employment benefits, and then other long-term benefits. Now, most of IAS 19 relates to post-employment benefits. And so there's 2 aspects to post-employment benefits. So basically, what is in post-employment benefit? It's a benefit you receive from a company, or like once you retire. That generally happens, like so for example, a lot of presidents. So I think all presidents get post-employment benefits after their term is over. They still get sorted out. And then for companies, generally it's going to be directors and so forth that retire from the company, and then they may get post-employment benefits. So we basically 2 types: a pension and medical aid, right? So that is post-employment benefits. So you can understand the term post-employment. Okay, so it's after employment, and you get the benefit, one of 2 things: a pension and or medical aid. Can be other stuff, but those are the typical ones. Now, in post-employment benefit, when it comes to pension, there are 2 types of pensions, right? You get something known as a defined contribution plan, and then a defined benefit plan. Now, the defined benefit plan, that is the complex one. That's the very complex one, but I don't think it's part of the syllabus. So basically, because that is not part of the syllabus, employment benefits is basically quite simple. Okay, so it's quite simple. So like we said, there are 4 categories. You will have to know the 4 categories, because when you disclose it, in most questions going to ask you for profit or loss, and then you must show the profit or loss line items. So remember, if you read IAS 1 that we did at the beginning of the year, IAS 1 deals with presentation and certain disclosures. So IAS 1 says that significant amounts included in profit or loss, if it's not separately presented on the profit or loss statement, you need to disclose it separately. So basically, employment costs and then the types of employment costs will generally be disclosed separately. So what they will generally ask you in an exam is, dear student, please complete the note to the profit or loss. That's going to tell you. So include a note for profit for the year. So how the note will look, you will say, you make up a note number, let's say note 10, you will say included in profit for the year are the following line items, and then you list the line items. So in this case, we will have employment benefits or employment costs, and you have to split the employment costs between the 4 different line items. Now remember, you will have to know the 4 line items. They're not going to tell you this is a short-term benefit. They're not going to tell you this is a post-employment benefit. They're not going to tell you this is a termination benefit. So what we're going to spend the next 10 minutes on is going through what makes an item a short-term, a post-employment, a termination, and an other. Okay, so we're going to go through that classification. So let's start with post-employment. So we said post-employment is basically, it's a long-term benefit. So it's a long-term benefit that takes place after employment. Once let's say a director retires, is no longer employed, and he receives medical aid or any other benefit after his employment, that will be considered a post-employment benefit. Okay, so if you have a situation like that, we will include it in the line item called post-employment. Then we have short-term benefit. A short-term benefit is basically any employment costs that a company incurs within 12 months. Okay, so it will basically incur within 12 months. So your typical thing would be a salary, leave, bonus, salary, leave, bonus, anything else basically that is of a short-term nature. So salary, leave, bonus, medical aid costs, those type of stuff, pension contributions, all of those. So any costs incurred within 12 months, that is considered a short-term benefit. Okay, so just be aware of that. Now remember, you mustn't get confused between a post-employment and a contribution. So remember, within post-employment benefits, there is contribution funds, but it will only be classified as a post-employment benefit if it relates to when a person will receive the benefit after they are employed. But if they're just receiving it while they are employed, then you will include it in short-term benefits. Very important. So the 4 categories: short-term benefits, any employment costs that is incurred within 12 months, basically within 12 months from the end of the financial year. That will be a short-term. Examples: salary, bonus, leave, what else? Medical aid, pension contribution, those type of stuff. But remember, it's a cost to the employee, to the employer. That's a short-term benefit. Post-employment, it is any cost that we incur as a result of post-employment benefits. Okay, so that will go into that category. And now we come to the third one, termination benefit. What's very important over here, so you must read very carefully within the scenario. Okay, so it's not difficult, but you might just read very carefully within the scenario. An employment cost, an employee cost is considered a termination benefit if the employee is receiving it as a result of being terminated. If he's receiving something, whether or not he would have been terminated or not, then it is not a termination benefit. It is only a termination benefit if he's receiving the money as a result of being terminated. Okay, so that is very, very important, because there will be certain stuff that may look like a bonus. There will be certain stuff that may look like a normal salary, but actually is a termination benefit, or vice versa. It may appear to be a salary. It may appear to be a bonus, but in actual fact, it's a termination benefit, because if the person was not going to be terminated, that person would not have received that money. So just keep that in mind. Then the last one, other long-term benefits. If you read IAS 19, they will tell you Other long-term benefit is any employment benefit, any employee cost that is not a short-term benefit, that is not a termination benefit, that is not a post-employment benefit. So if it's not any of the other three, then it has to be other long-term. Okay, so just be aware of that. So that is basically the big picture, high-level overview of employee benefits. That's it with employee benefits. There would have been a lot more if we dealt with contribution stuff, but we're not going to deal with that. If we do come across it, we will go through it, but I don't think it's really, I'm going to just check again SAICA's things. I don't think it's actually part of the syllabus. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to switch over into the scenario. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to read the scenario. I'm going to share it in the group now. Then I'm going to give you 5 minutes to read the scenario. Then after 5 minutes, like by 7 o'clock, I'll read it with you and we will work through the question together. Okay, so I shared it in the group. Go to page 70. Just read the scenario quickly. You just need to read the introduction paragraph on page 70, and then you can go straight to point 2 that says employee benefit expense. Just read the information above point 1, which is like 3 lines, just to get the background of a company, and then go to point number 2, which is employee benefits expense, and you read that. Don't read point number 1, because point number 1 is leases. Are you guys done reading? You guys done reading?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Oh, it's blank now.
See what's the problem? Okay, just follow along. Thing something on the internet. Follow on your scenario. Do you have the paper in front of you? I just give it 2 minutes. I don't know what's the problem here. Okay, so just follow on your scenario. So I'm on page 70. It says question 2. So I'm just going to read the few lines above point number 1, which says lease contract. So it says, Plastic, a company that manufactures plastic products, is listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. You are assisting the company with the finalization of the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2018. And the following information is available to you. So the only important point over there, our financial year end is 30th June 2018. Okay, so I'm going to go scroll all the way down to point number 2. So point number 2 says employee benefit expense. They say the following information relates to plastics employee benefit expense. So there you see that they have 2 divisions. So you have the homeware division and you have the industrial plastic division. So they say number of employees, 25 and 10, monthly gross salary expense. Can you hear me?